Hey, creative writers. This week we're going to be talking about the most well-known form of creative writing called the short story. Short stories are exactly what they sound like. They are shorter than a full-length book. Usually they're just a couple of pages long, maybe the length of like what one chapter would be in a bigger book. And they're usually really interesting and fast-moving plots within a short amount of time. So I probably just used a word that maybe you're not familiar with called plot. Plot is basically whatever happens in a story. So if I said, I walked down to the end of the street and I bought some milk, already that sentence has a kind of plot to it. First I did this, and then I did that. In stories, the plot is what happens to a character or what a character chooses to do. It's kind of the structure on which all your other writing builds. So we talked last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about description as being a way to make a good story a really great story, right? Description is like the supporting level for the plot. The plot's kind of the overarching thing. When one of your friends asks you, what did you do last week? Or what was, if you were trying to describe to somebody what was your favorite day ever? Or favorite meal, something like that. When you're describing that, let's say if we're describing your favorite day, you would start with, well, first I did this, then I went here, and probably if it's your favorite day, something kind of extraordinary or special happened. So then you might say something like, and then this thing happened and it surprised me, or it was shocking. And then this is how the day ended. So even as you're just talking to friends or family, your brain is kind of already using plot as a way of describing action. That's something that humans just do pretty naturally. So let's use the favorite day example, for instance. So if I said, my favorite day was my birthday, when I woke up and I went outside for a walk and thought I was going to have a pretty normal day. And then when I came back, all of my family and friends were waiting for me for a surprise party. And we celebrated and we had cake and it was the most wonderful day. The end, right? It's like a really short miniature story. But even in that story, there's kind of an arc to how I'm describing it. First I did this, then this crazy thing happened, and this is how the story ends. So there's kind of like three main stages. When you're writing your own stories, you want to try to think about those kind of shapes, those events in the plot, what they mean for your characters or for the overall mood and the tone of the story. Sometimes the point that kind of in my story was the big surprise, that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, or it could be neither good nor bad, but just kind of surprising or strange, a turn of events. All those things will help make your story interesting. So enough of me just talking about it. We're going to read together one of my absolute favorite short stories of all time. And then I'm going to show you a little video clip that is an adaptation of that story in film. And then, if you're watching this and you want to know what to do this week in terms of your writing, I would love for you to try to write a story. And it could be any story. It could be about something that's happened to you. It could be something completely imaginary. It could be something funny or sad. Really, whatever you want to try, I would love for you to give that a go, because really, it's one of the most used forms of creative writing for sure. Poetry and short stories are a big thing. So your little summative comment, I'm going to tell you now. Hopefully you keep watching, but drop in the comments for this video, drop the title of what your short story would be. So try to clue me in on the general gist of it, and I would love to read that. as always, if you want feedback on your writing, you can email me at lmccwriters@gmail.com, which is always in the comments in case you want some feedback or you want to try something. So let's read Langston Hughes' story, and we'll watch a little clip, and that will be it for this week. So I'm going to share my screen. Actually, yeah, I will share my screen with you. That way you can follow along with me if you can. So let's see, you're probably seeing a bunch of windows open up on my desktop. Just give me 1 second, and I will reshare. Here we go. So this is the story. This is pretty cool because this version of the text actually is broken up with like these little numbers, and you can see that they've bolded certain words in the story, and off to the side, it's really cool. They actually put the definitions for those words up, so you don't even have to look them up in a dictionary. You can just look right over here. So follow along with me and see if you can spot some words that you are not familiar with, and you can learn them. Okay. So, Thank You, Ma'am, by Langston Hughes. She was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but a hammer and nails. It had a long strap, and she carried it slung across her shoulder. It was about 11 o'clock at night, dark, and she was walking alone, when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke with a sudden single tug the boy gave it from behind, but the boy's weight and the weight of the purse combined caused him to lose his balance. Instead of taking off full blast as he had hoped, the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk and his legs flew up. The large woman simply turned around and kicked him right square in his blue jean sitter. Then she reached down, picked the boy up by his shirt front, and shook him till his teeth rattled. After that, the woman said, "Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here." She still held him tightly, but she bent down enough to permit him to stoop and pick up her purse. Then she said, "Now ain't you ashamed of yourself?" Firmly gripped by his shirt front, the boy said, "Yes, ma'am." The woman said, "What did you want to do it for?" The boy said, "I didn't aim to." She said, "You a lie." By the time that 2 or 3 people had passed, stopped, turned to look, and some stood watching. "If I turn you loose, will you run?" asked the woman. "Yes, ma'am," said the boy. "Then I won't turn you loose," said the woman. She did not release him. "Lady, I'm sorry," whispered the boy. "Uh-huh, your face is dirty, and I got a great mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?" "No, ma'am," said the boy. "Then it will get washed this evening," said the large woman, starting up the street, dragging the frightened boy behind her. He looked as if he were 14 or 15, frail and willow-wild in tennis shoes and blue jeans. Willow-wild is a beautiful word, isn't it? It means tall and slender, like a willow tree, and wild, willow-wild. The woman said, "You ought to be my son. I would teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is to wash your face. Are you hungry?" "No, ma'am," said the being dragged boy. "I just want you to turn me loose." "Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?" asked the woman. "No, but you put yourself in contact with me," said the woman, "and if you think that that contact is not going to last a while, you got another thing coming. When I get through with you, sir, you are going to remember Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones." Sweat popped out on the boy's face, and he began to struggle. Mrs. Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, and put a half Nelson around his neck and continued to drag him up the street. That's really funny. A half Nelson is a wrestling hold, so she's got him under her arm. When she got to her door, she dragged the boy inside, down a hall, and into a large kitchenette-furnished room at the rear of the house. She switched on the light and left the door open. The boy could hear other roomers laughing and talking in the large house. Roomers are people who live like rent rooms in the house, like an apartment. Some of their doors were open too, so he knew that he and the woman were not alone. The woman still had him by the neck in the middle of her room. She said, "What is your name?" "Roger," answered the boy. "Then, Roger, you go to that sink and wash your face," said the woman, whereupon she turned him loose at last. Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and he went to the sink. "Let the water run until it gets warm," she said. "Here's a clean towel." "Are you going to take me to jail?" asked the boy, bending over the sink. "Not with that face, I would not take you nowhere," said the woman. "Here I am trying to get home to cook me a bite to eat, and you snatch my pocketbook? Maybe you ain't been to your supper either, late as it be. Have you?" "There's nobody home at my house," said the boy. "Then we'll eat," said the woman. "I believe you're hungry, or been hungry, to try to snatch my pocketbook." "I want a pair of blue suede shoes," said the boy. "Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook to get some blue suede shoes," said Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. "You could have asked me." "Ma'am?" The water dripped from his face. The boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he had dried his face and, not knowing what else to do, dried it again, the boy turned around, wondering what next. The door was open. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, 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 run. The woman was sitting on the daybed. After a while, she said, "I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get." There was another long pause. The boy's mouth opened. Then he frowned, not knowing he frowned. The woman said, "Uh-huh, you thought I was going to say but, didn't you? You thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks." "Well, I wasn't going to say that." Pause. Silence. "I have done things too, which I would not tell you, son, neither tell God if you didn't already know. Everybody's got something in common, so you sit down while I fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you'll look more presentable." In another corner of the room, behind a screen, was a glass plate and an icebox. Icebox means a refrigerator. Mrs. Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not want to watch the boy to see, I messed up. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse, which she left behind her on the daybed. But the boy took care to sit on the far side of the room, away from the purse, where he thought she could easily see him out of the corner of her eye if she wanted to. He did not trust the woman not to trust him, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. "Do you need somebody to go to the store?" asked the boy, "maybe to get some milk or something?" "Don't believe I do," said the woman, "unless you just want sweet milk yourself. I was going to make cocoa out of this canned milk I got here." "That'll be fine," said the boy. She heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa, and set the table. The woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived, or his folks, or anything that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women came in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him a half of her 10-cent cake. "Eat some more, son," she said. When they were finished eating, she got up and said, "Now here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes. And next time, do not make the mistake of latching on to my pocketbook, nor nobody else's, because shoes got by devilish ways will burn your feet. I got to get my rest now. But from here on in, son, I hope you will behave yourself." So when she says shoes got by devilish ways will burn your feet, it kind of means like if you steal something, that thing is bound to get you caught or bound to get you in trouble, even though it might be nice to have it for a little bit. She led him down the hall to the front door and opened it. "Good night. Behave yourself, boy," she said, looking out into the street as he went down the steps. The boy wanted to say something other than, "Thank you, ma'am," to Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones, but although his lips moved, he couldn't even say that as he turned at the foot of the barren stoop and looked at the large woman in the door. Then he shut the door. So that is the end of our wonderful short story. And now we're gonna just watch a little tiny clip, if I can get there. Just because it's fun to see this. From another thing.
Oh, you little rascal! Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here. Ain't you ashamed of yourself?
Yes, sir.
Why'd you do it?
I didn't aim to.
You lie. If I turn you loose, will you run?
Yes, sir.
Then I won't turn you loose.
Lay, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. You got a dirty face. I got a great mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?
No.
Then it's gonna get washed this morning. You ought to be my son. I teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is wash your face for you. Are you hungry?
No, I just want you to turn me loose.
Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?
No.
But you had to put yourself in contact with me. Well, if you think that contact ain't gonna last for a while, you got another thought coming. When I get through with you, sir, you are going to remember Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. Come on.
So that's really fun, isn't it, to see the little clip adapted into a film. Some wonderful things about that short story I hope you notice, besides just the really great plot, which is super heartwarming and beautiful, right? Let me see if I can share my screen again for the document. Let's just look together real quick before I let you go. At what point in this story is what we would call a plot twist, right? There might be a couple in this one, but a plot twist is where, you know, the story's going in one direction, right? And then there's like a turn or a change in events that makes it really exciting and interesting. And the clip that we watched, right, sort of is right before that twist happens. So in the beginning of the story, this young boy thinks he's going to steal this woman's pocketbook. She seems like an easy target. Pocketbook means purse. She seems like an easy target. She's walking at night in the story, even though they changed that a little bit in the film. But he kind of picks the wrong woman, right? Like, she's kind of a piece of work. She's not going to let him steal her purse without a fight. So that's kind of the first event in the plot. But I think you might disagree, but I kind of think the plot twist is when she says, "You ought to be my son, and I would teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is to wash your face. Are you hungry?" This question, "Are you hungry?" kind of shifts the story from, at first we think this boy is going to get in trouble, right? He's doing something he shouldn't be supposed to do. You know, he's kind of picking on this older woman who he doesn't know. You know, he's trying to steal from her. So we think bad things are going to happen. And when she says, "Are you hungry?" it kind of twists it, right? Like, she's starting to show us, like, as the readers, that she's actually going to take care of this kid, right? And the rest of the story is spent, you know, it's super short, right? It's just a couple of pages. That's an amazing thing. It's like your story could be a little itty bitty thing and super touching and wonderful. So don't stress yourself out about writing a long story. Try to write a short story that means something, right? So she gets him home. And then I think there's another twist in this story too. So they're home, they're sharing a meal together, right? She made him hot chocolate. ham, lima beans, you know, she pulled it out of the refrigerator. It's kind of like comfort food, right? And they're sitting together. You know, he could have ran away, but he chose to stay and let her take care of him. And then I think the second twist comes when she says, let's see if I can find it in here. Now here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes. And next time, don't make the mistake of latching onto my pocketbook or anybody else's. So the second twist is when she takes it even further. And it's not even that she's just not going to tell on him. She's not going to rat him out to anybody. She's actually going to go out of her way to give him something extra. And she also kind of teaches him a lesson as she's doing it. So that's just a really fun, wonderful story. It's a classic. I hope it was inspiring to you and that you take some time and maybe consider writing a story of your own. Let's see. Your question was, what would the title of your story be? And if you have a second, go ahead and type that into the comments. And I will see you next week. Okay, take care, guys.